It's 11 p.m. You're both on the couch, phones out, scrolling listings, and then you find one. It's not perfect, but something about it just feels right. You look at the price, $500,000. Your stomach does this little thing, but before you can even process it, one of you says, "We got approved. We can do this." And just like that, the real math stops. You close the app, you go to bed, and somewhere in the back of your mind, both of you know you never actually ran the numbers. You just decided to trust the letter. Here's what nobody tells you before you sign. Getting approved for a $500,000 mortgage is not the same thing as being able to afford a $500,000 home. And the gap between those two sentences, that's where couples end up financially stuck for years. In this video, we're going to show you the true monthly cost of a $500,000 home. Not the number on the listing, not what the mortgage calculator shows, the real number. And we're going to give you one conversation, just one, that will change the way the two of you make this decision together. Hey, I'm Mike Miller, and if you've ever felt like you're doing everything right but still coming up short, this channel was built for you and your partner. If this is your first time here, hit subscribe. We put out videos every week specifically for couples navigating money together, and we make sure every one of them is actually worth your time. Okay, so here's where most couples start. They get pre-approved, the number feels exciting, almost like an achievement. So they go shop right at the top of it. But here's what nobody in that room tells you. The number on your pre-approval letter is the maximum they will lend you. It is not the maximum you should spend. Those are two completely different things, and the gap between them is exactly where couples get into serious financial trouble. So, let's build the real number from the ground up. You put 10% down, that's $50,000 out the door. You're now financing $450,000. At current rates around 7%, your principal and interest payment lands at roughly $2,995 a month. But here's the thing, that's not your payment. That's just the beginning. Add property taxes, $300 to $700 a month. Let's call it $500 to be fair. Add homeowners insurance, $150 to $200 a month. Add PMI, that's private mortgage insurance. The fee you pay every month because you put less than 20% down, it protects the bank, not you. Another $150 to $200. Now you're sitting at roughly $3,850 to $3,900 a month, and you haven't touched the home itself yet. Because homes break. The water heater goes, the roof leaks, the HVAC dies on the hottest day in August. Budget 1% of your home's value per year for maintenance. On a $500,000 home, that's $5,000 a year, about $417 a month. Add it all up. The true monthly cost of owning a $500,000 home is right around $4,300 to $4,400 a month. That's over $52,000 a year, after taxes, going to one single asset. And this is where it happened to the Garcias. Marco and Diane Garcia were both working, solid jobs, combined income around $135,000. They got pre-approved for $490,000. They stretched to $500,000 because the neighborhood felt right, and the school district was exactly what they wanted. Month 1, tight but fine. Month 3, they stopped eating out. Month 6, Diane's hours got cut, and they weren't prepared. Every extra dollar had gone to moving costs and furniture. No emergency fund, nothing to fall back on. By month 8, they were arguing about groceries, not because they were bad with money, because they never saw the real number before they signed. But here's what nobody tells you about this. The monthly payment isn't actually the number that will make or break you two. There's another number almost nobody talks about, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Most couples think the question is, can we afford the payment? That's the wrong question. The right question is, after the payment, what's left? That leftover number, what financial planners call your margin, is the actual thing that determines whether homeownership builds your life or quietly drains it. Here's what most couples do. Here's what actually works. You calculate the payment, and then you subtract everything else, and you don't sign until the number that's left is enough to keep building. So let's run it. $135,000 combined income, take home roughly $8,500 a month, housing $4,300, that leaves $4,200. Sounds like breathing room until you add life. 2 cars, $900. Insurance, $250. Gas, $200. Student loans, $500. Groceries, $800. Utilities and phone, $400. Health insurance gap, $300. You're looking at about $850 left per month for 2 people. No investing, no emergency fund, no cushion, and 0 margin for anything to go wrong. The couple who bought $500,000 on $135,000 is one broken furnace away from credit card debt. The couple who bought at $380,000 on the exact same income has $1,400 a month left over after everything, and they're putting $800 of that into their investment accounts every single month. In 10 years, one couple has equity and stress, the other has equity and options. And once we saw that difference, not in theory, but in actual numbers, everything changed. But there's one step most couples miss entirely, and I'll show you that next. So, if margin is what matters, how do you protect it before you buy? Here's how, not with a complicated system, with 5 numbers and 1 conversation. Part 1. Build the true monthly number. Before you and your partner ever tour a single home, sit down together and build the real monthly cost, not the mortgage payment, the full number. Take the purchase price, run the mortgage at current rates, add property taxes for that specific zip code. County assessor websites have this. It only takes 5 minutes. Add the insurance, add PMI if you're putting less than 20% down, add $400 a month as a maintenance reserve. That's your number. But here's where it gets interesting, because most couples stop there, and the number that actually matters comes next. Part 2. Run the margin test. Take your combined take-home pay. Subtract your true housing cost. Subtract every other fixed expense you have, cars, insurance, loans, subscriptions, the works. What's left? Here's the rule. If what's left is less than 15% your take-home, that home will likely strain you. Less than 10%, it will likely strain your relationship. 0 or negative, you already know what you need to do. On $8,500 take-home with a $4,300 housing cost, after all other fixed expenses, you've got $850 left. That's about 10%, right at the edge. One income disruption away from crisis. On the same income, with a $3,400 housing cost, you've got $1,750 left. That's 20%. That's breathing room. That's margin you can invest, save, and build with. Here's the part that surprises most couples. You don't need to earn more to fix this. You need to buy less. And here's exactly what that looks like in real numbers. Part 3. Know your real price ceiling. Most financial guidelines say housing shouldn't exceed 28% of your gross monthly income. On a $135,000 combined income, 28% puts your max housing budget at about $3,150 a month. That means, with taxes, insurance, PMI, and maintenance included, you're looking at a purchase price closer to $320,000 to $350,000, not $500,000. Here's the kicker, and this is the part most people find uncomfortable. The conversation about these numbers has to happen between both of you, out loud, before you fall in love with a listing. Part 4. Have the one conversation that changes everything. Most couples don't fail at home ownership because of bad math. They fail because of silence. One partner knows the numbers feel off, but doesn't want to kill the dream. So they say nothing. The other partner is excited. They trust the letter, and neither of them ever ask the question out loud. What happens to us if one of us loses income for 6 months? Here's what we want you two to do tonight. Just 5 numbers together. 1. What is the true monthly cost? Full picture. 2. What do we actually take home after taxes combined? 3. What are all of our current fixed monthly expenses? 4. What's left? Is it enough to save, invest, and absorb a surprise? 5. If one of us lost our job tomorrow, how many months could we cover this? If that last question makes both of you uncomfortable, that discomfort is data. Don't look away from it. Sit with it. That's the conversation that changes everything. Here's the actual cost of skipping this conversation. The Garcias bought at $500,000 on $135,000. Within 2 years, they put $6,400 on a credit card when their HVAC went out. At 22% interest, they're paying that off for 4 years. They stopped contributing to their retirement accounts the month they moved in. They haven't restarted. By year 5, they've lost roughly $34,000 in compounded investment growth they will never get back. They're not broke, but they're not building. And the home they were so excited to own is now the reason they feel stuck. Now, here's what the other path looks like. Same income, home at $370,000, monthly cost $3,350. Left after expenses, $1,400 a month. They invest $800 of it every month. In 10 years with average market returns, that's roughly $147,000 in their investment accounts, plus equity in a home they could actually afford. One couple has a house, the other has a house and a future. A slightly smaller home bought at the right price will outperform a dream home bought at the wrong one every single time. The math doesn't care how much you love the kitchen. There's no trophy for buying a home that quietly makes you miserable. The win isn't the biggest house you could get approved for. The win is a home that gives you both room to breathe, room to save, room to invest, room to build something real together without money becoming the thing you fight about every month. You two already know what the right number looks like. Now, you just have to be willing to say it out loud to each other. Buy based on your real life, not your best case. You've got this. Go talk about it tonight.